Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we are going to be talking about Ripple and XRP, as well as the vast majority of crypto and finance. And with that being said, let's just dive on in. So there's two posts here by Chad Steingraber, and it's actually images from the usdebtclock.org website. Most notable, the newest messages are definitely interesting. So there's a quote here from Abraham Lincoln. It's actually a pretty popular quote. You probably know about it. But you see, the government should create, issue, and circulate all the currency and credits needed to satisfy the spending power of the government and the buying power of consumers. By the adoption of these principles, the taxpayers will be saved immense sums of interest. Money will cease to be master and become the servant of humanity. And as you guys are probably all aware, well, guess what? The tides have changed. We know that money has become master. Everyone is working for it, and we're essentially a slave to the system, aka the rat race. But we do see down at the bottom, the money power preys upon the nations in times of peace and conspires against it in times of adversity. It is more despotic than monarchy, more insolent than autocracy, more selfish than bureaucracy. And very interesting quotes here, and definitely interesting images as well. And here we have stolen wealth, and you can actually see the productivity of individuals and the compensation for their work. I mean, you have the productivity up 245% while compensation is basically flatlined. And I actually just seen an individual post a video how her and her family are making more money than ever before, yet they're the brokest that they've ever been as well. Because again, like, compensation versus what is actually happening outside of your job. Because listen, like, the money looks great on paper. You're bringing in X amount of dollars and you're like, wow, this is the most I've ever made in my life. Yet guess what? You don't have much at all. And it's because everything around us is constantly going up in value, while the compensation, although it looks good on paper, it's really not that great because everything around us is so damn expensive. And this is what they want. This is all full on manipulation. This is stolen wealth. And it's all because they abandoned the gold standard so that they can manipulate the money supply, and they can do what they want with it. It's ridiculous. But that's also why we have said that a change is on the horizon. But also over here from XRP Drops, they are quoting Chad, and we do see Debt Clock, the end of the gold standard on August 15th, 1971. The US terminated convertibility of the US dollar to gold, effectively bringing the Bretton Woods system to an end and rendering the dollar a fiat currency. Shortly thereafter, many fixed currencies such as the pound sterling also became free floating, and the subsequent era has been characterized by floating exchange rates. The end of Bretton Woods was formally ratified by the Jamaica Accords in 1976. So yeah, I mean, listen, as we really kind of look at the change in scenery, especially around currency, it's a big problem, right? Obviously, we know this, and it seems as though it's never going to be fixed. That's what it looks like, right? But this is also why a lot of people think that CBDCs, whether they be, some sort of, control aspect or whatever you want to call it, a lot of people also look on the other side of the picture and say, well, with a CBDC, well, now we could hold those accountable for their own actions regarding, mass printing or where the money's actually going. We could track and trace things. So again, there's a few changes happening here, some for good, some for bad. But for the overall viewpoint of this, we know that a new system is going to rise. We know that their overall goals here are basically to self-sabotage the traditional financial system to usher in this new digital system as well, which we have become aware of simply because of all of the documentation that we have read regarding the elites and this new system that they are trying to force upon everyone. But also over here, we got a few sort of insights regarding Ripple, Stellar, and a few other players. Shout out to ISO 2002. Let's do it for this. This is very interesting. So I think at this current moment in time, we basically have 100% proof that Ripple is a part of this new system. Like, they are behind this new system. But you see, United Nations report on open regulated global payments inter-network mentions Ripple, ISO 20022, and Interledger Protocol. So check this out. So this is what we have from this. Unlocking public and private finance for the poor. And we do see exploratory paper, open regulated global payments inter-network. Over here, let me open this up in a new tab. I know it's a little hard to read. So let me go to the first one. So here we have various blockchain solutions are emerging, such as from Ripple, Stellar, Silo, and so many other ones. Whilst the most blockchain networks are open and decentralized, the native coins that run each network are held by a minority. Moreover, it is critical that these different chains find a way to interoperate, and work on this front is underway. When it comes to money and payments, there are good reasons why associations such as SWIFT have played a key role. Then also over here we have, however, even when this happens, inefficiencies will remain because RTP systems are one channel to make payments, unless other networks can interconnect, such as the card networks, SWIFT, Ripple, etc. The only two networks here that they're mentioning is SWIFT and Ripple. And they also talk about the new standard that is emerging as a common messaging standard. Whilst the remittance industry is fast adopting the standard, it is only one part of the payment stack and not a complete solution. New technologies such as blockchain have a lot of great advantages, but sometimes those advantages can be misused in ways that often have not been thought about, resulting in unintended consequences. Very interesting. And by the way, they also have Project Nexus down here, which we've addressed. This is the blueprint for instant cross-border payments. But then also over here, Interledger, open and inclusive payments. We've talked about the Interledger protocol quite a bit in the past. Provides for routing payments across different digital asset ledgers while isolating senders and receivers from the risk of intermediary failures. Secure multi-hop payments and automated routing enables a global network of networks for different types of value that can connect any sender with any receiver. And they also do say, however, the Interledger protocol is intentionally limited in scope to provide the functions necessary to deliver a payment from a source to a destination over an interconnected system of ledgers. It includes minimal requirements for underlying ledgers, and it does not include public key infrastructure, identity, liquidity management, or other services commonly found in payment protocols. The Interledger protocol is managed by the Interledger Foundation, a non-profit advocate for the web that promotes innovation, creativity, and inclusion by advancing open payment standards and technologies that seamlessly connect our global society. It is currently funded by Coil and Ripple, two private sector companies whose executives sit on the board of the foundation. But beyond this, within this PDF file, because it's the same exact PDF file as you guys do see here, what I find very interesting is at the bottom here. So they go over leaving no one behind in the digital era. This is banking the unbanked, essentially, and making sure everyone is advancing with it. They actually have a vision of this to empower millions of people by 2024 to use services daily and leverage innovation and technology and contribute to SDGs. But at the bottom there, do you guys see that? So the United Nations Capital Development Fund makes public and private finance work for poor in the world's 46 least developed countries. The UN CDF offers last mile finance models that unlock public and private resources, especially at the domestic level, to reduce poverty and support local economic development. This is definitely interesting. The finance models work through three channels: inclusive digital economies, which connect individuals, households, and small businesses with financial ecosystems that catalyze participation in local economy and provide tools to climb out of poverty and manage financial lives; local development finance; and then 3 is investment finance. But this last mile is the secret here, because if we actually look back in time, we know Ripple put out in 2020 the last mile playbook for global payments. And here they talk about what is the last mile. Well, the last mile is similar to supply chain management and transportation logistics. The last mile in global payments refers to the movement of value from a financial institution to the final delivery destination, the end recipient. This last leg of the payments journey is plagued with inconsistencies due in part to the differing policies and infrastructure country to country. In many emerging economies, much of the global population remains unbanked and must seek alternative means for payment receipt. To meet this demand, the last mile payment incurs additional time for settlement and costs. Connecting these different domestic networks is just another roadblock in the last mile payment experience. In an attempt to create more cross-border interoperability between the different local payment networks, industry players are building new capabilities atop a complicated web of legacy systems. This practice is not fixing the root cause of slow global payments. Rather, these solutions are glossing over the original prohibitive infrastructure. Until this base infrastructure is improved, performance will always be limited. The adoption of blockchain alleviates these constraints by unifying the underlying infrastructure and uniting the framework of institutions and suppliers working on top of it, thereby enabling a seamless last mile process that meets consumer expectations and needs. This is very interesting because in this entire document, they're talking about blockchain, they're talking about DLT, they're talking even about Ripple. Like Ripple is being specifically mentioned with other players here, but the only actual networks that are mentioned within card payments is Swift and Ripple, which is very, very interesting. And even Interledger is being talked about. And by the way, this PDF file is not old. This is actually from just recently in, I think it said 2022 at the top. From what I was reading, let me scroll down and find it just for you guys. 1 second. All right, so I found an official post. This is going back 1 year ago, so this is just 1 year old. So all of the information within this is still fairly fresh and new. I know that a lot of people will say, oh, it's just 1 year old, so it's old, but it's really not. This is actually pretty new. But the paper also builds upon the FSB's work with enhancing cross-border payment systems, which, by the way, for those that don't know, the FSB is actually working with the IMF, the G20, the BIS, the World Bank, and they also allowed for Ripple to comment on this global crypto regulatory framework, which they are trying to implement by the end of 2025, and they allowed Ripple to comment on it back in December of 2022. So it's definitely interesting. But beyond this, right? We also know that Ripple is becoming a dominant force within the FX market. For those that are not aware, the FX market is actually trading a massive $7.5 trillion a day. This is a big deal. The reason why I bring this up is because guess who is moving most of the money? The United Kingdom. They remain the most important FX trading location globally with 38% of global turnover. But remember that the UK just recently said that they are set to regulate crypto in 2024. This is a huge move, and at the same time, we know that back in July, Ripple applied for a crypto license in the United Kingdom, and also Ripple won the UK's most prestigious payment award back in the beginning of October. And also, Chris Larsen literally said that the UK has and will continue to be a home for financial and technological innovation. I'm telling you guys right now, Ripple has a large amount of connections in the UK. We know that also back in 2022, they held Ripple Swell, the Swell event in London actually, which was a huge one as well to note. But also we see over here from ISO 2022, let's do it. Ripple on-demand liquidity, XRP, reaches 90% of the FX market. Swift network update to accommodate digital currencies for foreign exchange cross-border trade. Look at this. So literally, the on-demand liquidity expansion into nearly 40 payout markets around the world, representing 90% of the FX market. The proof is in the pudding. And also over here, the securities messaging of this report now accommodate digital assets. This is from Swift in terms of implementing blockchain and cryptocurrency functionality in the following year. Also down here, Swift has also made changes to its foreign exchange messages in the same report. There is now added support for digital currencies and non-deliverable FX trades that do not have an ISO 4217 currency code. But then down here, we have these changes outlined in Swift Standards released 2023, along with other innovations will be implemented on the Swift network starting on November 19th, 2023. This is a huge change. And then also over here, I want to take you guys back in time a little bit to this clip. We do see Swift transfers $5 trillion every single day. There's only 50 billion XRP, only 10% of daily Swift. Transactions would catapult XRP above $100. Swift has already successfully tested XRP. Check this out.
Swift is the preeminent messaging system for the financial industry, which covers, say, payments, FX, trade, in terms of securities, etc., NOSTA reconciliations, etc. What we're looking with the crypto, though, is where SWIFT would have a store and forward system for most of its payment transactions, where you need service level agreements that in a certain time I will do something, but payment turns up at a certain time during the day. Here we're looking at the new network styles, which allow instant, real-time movement to the funds and visibility of those funds as well. So we would not have a situation where banks need to come back to you and say, have my funds arrived? It's 3 days later. I need to find out or find query messages moving around the network. There's nothing like that. I don't believe Ripple is going to replace SWIFT. Ripple is one of the complementary networks, which is going to allow those institutions who need real time to make use of that. And I think we're also seeing that SWIFT are changing their network capability so that real time will be a possibility as well. But we may also see Ripple XRP moving across the SWIFT network as a currency when we're perhaps using something like FX.
So there you guys have it in terms of utilizing FX on SWIFT, tapping into possibly XRP. And the reason why I bring this up and the reason why I'm talking about this, because this is an older clip. Like, this has been around for a while, but the reason why I'm bringing this back up is because all of these significant things that are happening with FX covering, or with on-demand liquidity covering the FX market, 90% of the FX market, which is a $7.5 trillion per day market, is very significant because Ripple has already made its name around these major areas that are moving large portions of this market, like for an example, the UK, but also we know that SWIFT is tapping in to digital currencies, blockchain and DLT, and they are actually trying to implement them within their entire payment network in order to be tapped in. And this is all towards digital finance in this new world of finance that is essentially rising. There's very large changes happening, and it's all kind of centered out on the inefficiencies that are plaguing our current system. But I do also believe that a major reset is going to happen as well, because listen, we can't have society cannot continue on. It's unstable at this current moment in time because, you know, with compensation, with productivity and things like that increasing, while compensation basically just continues to stagger on sideways. Like, this is not going to last forever, but I do believe that we are going to see a very large change. And one of those big changes, like for an example, like the United Nations, like them actually openly talking about this is a pretty big deal, considering the fact that we know that the United Nations also just recently said that a new Bretton Woods system is essentially rising. I also believe that Ripple and XRP are going to be a part of this new system. And I think that they have a significant role to play in it as well. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. If you guys did enjoy the video, definitely leave a like, subscribe, to notifications on because of more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Peace out.